Welcome to the Prosperity Podcast for entrepreneurs who are ready to drop the hustle and earn more. I'm your host, Danielle Amos, business and success coach, certified Proctor Gallagher Institute consultant, and lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I'll bring you amazing entrepreneurs who have built wealth, harnessing the power of their mind. Prosperity and money are truly about energy, and I'm on a mission to help you create financial abundance through the power of thought. It's time we started normalizing conversations about money and create the wealth that is yours. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Welcome to episode 159 of the Prosperity Practice, the podcast that has you living your most abundant life. My name is Danielle Amos, and I am your host. Today we have a special treat for you. We're going to talk about decision and the power of decision. Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich says that the lack of decision is the number one reason for failure. And if you think about it, most people don't know how to make a decision. They ask the opinions of their neighbors and friends. Some people make a list of pros and cons, or if they make a decision at all, they usually switch and go back and forth and change their mind often. This is not decision making. Successful people make a decision quickly, and they rarely change their minds. Now, how do you do that? And what do your beliefs about your decision need to be? Well, this is exactly what this podcast is all about. I had my team bring this together, and then we have a very special guest who shares with you today the power of how one decision can change your life when you believe in that decision. Her name is Lesley Spencer Cooper. So enjoy. Let me know if you have questions, and we'll see you inside.
I made the decision to jump, and I had a huge lump in my throat. I thought I was going to be sick. I was freaking out even for a few days after, if I'm honest about it. Everyone around me thought I was crazy, but I knew in my heart that I had to do this for me. I couldn't even explain it, but I had this knowing for myself. And it wasn't an easy decision because I didn't have the money. And in fact, my husband told me that I was putting everything on the line in our family. Like, it was not comfortable. We weren't in a good place. And I remember just closing my eyes and pressing down and taking this massive breath. And what I can tell you now, that one decision changed my entire life. One decision to jump before I was ready, to jump when it wasn't logical, to jump when it was naysayers around me. One decision. And I cringe at the thought of if I would have listened to my husband or to anyone else, really. None of you would be here, not with my help. And I know for sure, Paul and I have talked about it. I don't think we'd be married without it. One decision. And this is the power of decision, because when we make the decision, when I made the decision, I made the decision from this vision. At the time, to be honest, it felt more like a hope, like a wish that this was the life that I knew I was meant to live, because the one I was currently living wasn't it. And what happens when you make a decision, you instantly flip your mind to the frequency of your goal achieved. One decision changed the frequency. And I made the decision. And now this is how I operate across the board. All my decisions, none of them are ever made from my present results, my present income, my present anything. None. And it's scary AF. It's scary. And it's bold and it's full of faith. And there's great power in decisions because, and I'll go into it today, because the moment you make a decision and you actually burn the boat, so it's a committed decision, and you do something that's in alignment with the decision. So, like, because a lot of us say, oh, yeah, I've made the decision, but then there's no action that backs it. We say, oh, I'll invest in the program when the client comes, or I'll move to Italy when the kids get out of university or whatever. And we continue to say that. And that's one of our biggest problems, like, in why we're not making the change, is because procrastination is a decision. It's literally telling the universe that you don't like actually want that thing. So we've got to make the decision backed with the energy of the goal achieved. And it's so important because we also notice that sometimes people will make a decision and they'll like kind of brush it under the rug, right? They're like, yeah, I made the decision, but you really want to make it a really big deal and anchor in. So what happens with decision and why it's so powerful? Let's think about what it rhymes with. So to decide rhymes with homicide. And so I love this when I heard it. To decide rhymes with homicide. So we're killing off any other options but the decision that we're making. And what I noticed is that there's a big difference between a committed decision and a decision. A committed decision is one that we take action upon, we align with, regardless to what's going on in our outside world. When we're interested in something, we will take action on that decision that we call a decision, but it's actually just an interest only when it's convenient for us. So this is a Ken Blanchard quote. The difference between when someone's interested and they're committed is when they and how they take the action around it. And a committed decision is really important. The way that I used to make decisions was I would make a list, a long list of pros and cons, and I'd look at that list of pros and cons, and I'll mentally think about it, and I go back and forth. I wasn't very strong in my decision making. And so I thought about this, like, and this is a big part of the contemplation that I've had with Bob and the talks with Bob Proctor. It's like, how did I make decisions, and how is that different from the way that successful people make decisions? And I really wanted to like understand the difference in that. So a person who is making a decision fast based on desire and their goal achieves self. So rather than making that long list of like, okay, like what are the pros, or if I make this, like what can happen, and if I don't, like what's the impact? I mean, there is value in seeing what's the impact. Oftentimes we can see what a decision costs us, like, you know, if I invest in this is like $5,000, and so I can see the upfront cost, but I'm not able to see the impact, like if I don't make it, really, but you can become present to it. And instead, we can look at what that return on the investment is, like the best case scenario. That long list of cons and pros and cons. I'd also ask a lot of people for their opinion. And and really it wasn't their opinion, but I didn't really realize it at the time. I was more like asking people for what I thought was advice. But the truth is, the people that I was connecting with were in the same paradigm as me. They had very similar results. They were friends or colleagues with very similar results to me. And so their opinion actually wasn't worth a whole lot, because if we make a decision from that place of our right now results, I'm going to get more of the same. You see that? The energy of making the decision right from your energy of where you are and taking the opinions of everyone else gets you more of the same. And the truth is, those people didn't have the results that I actually wanted. And so it would have made a lot more sense if I had this awareness to ask people, if I wanted to ask someone's opinion, to ask someone who had the results I was looking for. So the money in the bank account, the relationship, for example, ask them their perspective. And that's all it is just a perception. Like, ask them what they thought, if it was a good idea or not, and then take that into consideration. Why? Because I want the results that they have. The number one reason people fail is because they do not make a decision. And I know this from working with very successful people from all over the world, is that anyone that's successful makes a decision quickly. And that could be, what marketing photo to use for their business launch or who to hire. They make a decision quickly. And this is something that I've learned for myself, is that I have the belief that I always make the right decision. And that belief really serves me, because I know if I turn right today, there's going to be a set of things that I'm dealing with when I turn right. And this is for me to learn, both probably things that I want and things that maybe challenge me, which is how I grow. But if I was to turn left instead of right, very similar lessons, maybe just different people, or it would look different. But the whole purpose of a goal and going after a goal is to grow. So these lessons and the things that I need to grow are going to come to me. I trust that. And so I have a belief that I never make a wrong decision. It's not possible for me. And that I follow intuition, and I always make decisions based on desire, never based on money, never based on time. It's just, do I want it? And this is what I know to be true, is that once you make the decision, not before, but once you make the decision, all the resources you need to accomplish that goal get attracted to you.
And a great example of what happens when you decide. Here's my client, Lesley, who experienced abundance and excess when she made one decision that actually changed her life. She made a decision to join the Success Society with me. And here's what she found.
Thank you so much for having me. It feels so good to be back. I haven't been part of this world for a little while. I still practice every single day what I learned, but it feels so good. The energy, Danielle, your energy, on fire as always. So I'd love to share my story. Just everything that you're talking about, it's all about decision. So I wrote some notes just because I didn't want to forget anything. So my story. So I used to be a worrier, always stressed about money, not happy at work, and certainly not enjoyable at home. And Danielle talks about this. I had a side hustle along with my full-time management job for many years, but I was just mildly successful. But I always believed that there was more, that I was meant for more, that I could do more. In September 2020, I met a good friend of mine for a drink. And as usual, I jumped into how much I hated my job, blah, blah, blah. And she listened very, very carefully. And she told me that I needed guidance and I needed help. And she had been following Danielle, and she told me that Danielle's program was exactly what I needed and what I was seeking. That wine date just happened to be the same week as Danielle was offering Prosperous You back then, now called Becoming. It was divine timing. I tuned in like you are. I sat where you're sitting, and I soaked up every word that I heard. I felt alive for the first time in a long time. I was meant for more, and I knew it, and I was starting to believe it. I did not have the money to say yes, but I knew I had to jump, and I'm going to get emotional. Every cell in my body was crying that it was my turn. So I jumped in to thinking into results, and I'm so grateful that I did. I played full out. I showed up and I leaned in, and it changed my life. I learned that mindfulness thinking is everything. I learned that I can be and do and have anything, that anything is possible. I learned that the how is not up to me. If I could hold my dream in my head, which I had for a really long time, I can hold it in my hands. And it happened so quickly. Fast forward 3.5 months, right after I started the program, and right smack dab in the middle of COVID, I gave my notice at my full-time job. I graduated from TIR, and I jumped into my side hustle 100% because I knew I was going to be successful. How? I didn't know how, because the how is not up to you or not up to me, but I knew it was going to be okay. Our first year in business, we made $40,000. And just 1.5 years later, which I am right now, we are now over $250,000 in sales. We have 12 staff, a company vehicle. I rent a 2,600 square foot office space, and I just received architectural plans for my future warehouse and retail space. Do I have a clue as to how I'm going to pay for it? Nope, but it will happen. I still carry my Gola card in my phone every single day. This work has been life-changing. It is such a powerful mind shift, and I will never go back to who I was and how I was. I like who I am now. I'm confident, I'm successful, and I feel amazing. Sorry. I'm a better mom. I'm a better wife and a better friend. Last week, I reached out to Danielle because I had a profound event happen in my life, and I'd like to read what I sent her. Hi, Danielle. I hope you're well. I needed to reach out to you tonight to thank you for everything I learned from you and for being that bright light and hope that I needed in a dark time in my life. Tonight, I experienced my future memory. When I started the Success Society with you back in September 2020, I had no idea the impact it would have. My future memory would consist of my little company on stage winning a business award. You helped me see it, and you helped me dream it. Tonight, we won. Be, do, have, with extreme gratitude, Lesley. So I'm going to give you some advice, if I can. Lean in, trust your gut, jump in. You will never regret it. Trust the process. Studying this work has exceeded my expectations, and it changed my life, my family's life, and my future. And as Danielle always says, expect abundance because it's your turn. So thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh my word. I am speechless. My body was shivering as you were speaking, Lesley. People that know me well don't see me like this so often. I don't know about you listening, but I just had goosebumps over my entire body, Lesley. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Seriously, thank you.
I'm so proud. And, when I got your text, I knew, I always knew where you were going. And to hear how you've jumped and rented the space without knowing, I'm just so proud, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I just want to give you the biggest hug. You guys, this if Lesley's words resonated, just allow that to sink in, because when she said that this is your time, she's telling you the truth, that there's no coincidence in any of this. Allow your inner being to guide you.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast on decision. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. The best way to reach me is on Instagram. Tag me in a post if this resonated with you, and I'll be sure to share. Thank you in advance for helping us get this material out to others. That's my mission, to make sure that you don't settle. And it's not easy because the paradigm, your mental programming wants you to stay the same. And when you make a decision to change, obviously nothing in your life stays the same. So it's not easy. You're not meant to do it alone. Have a community that supports you, and start with us here online and in this podcast. So thank you so much for joining us. If it resonates, give us a 5-star review, a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next episode. Expect abundance.